Welcome to The Woman's Hustle, thrills and spills of entrepreneurship. This show is going to take you on a journey into the dynamic world of female entrepreneurship. In this show, we're going to celebrate victories, navigate the challenges, and embrace the roller coaster ride of building a business. We're going to dive into the stories of women who have dared to strike out on their own as they share their experiences, insights, and lessons learned. So, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned business owner, join us as we explore the hustle, the thrills, and yes, the spills of entrepreneurship. Let's get it. Hey y'all, welcome back to The Woman's Hustle, thrills and spills of entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Coach K, Transforms of Upgraded Mindsets, and I thank you so much for tuning in today. If you don't know what this podcast is about, let me let you know again. It is for women who are either entrepreneurs, who are wanting to become entrepreneurs, who are on that journey, who are stuck, or who just wanting insight on their side hustle and things like that. But ladies, this is for us. So thank you so much for tuning in. I have a special guest with me today. Her name is Lady. I'm going to let her go into a little bit about who she is, and we are going to dive into managing life balance as an entrepreneur. What's good, Lady? How you doing, baby?
Hey, Coach K. I am well.
Good. Thank you so much for joining me on The Woman's
It's a
Hustle.
pleasure.
I love it. You all, if you guys aren't familiar and if you haven't been following me, I also have another podcast, which is Empowering Real Talk. And Lady is my co-host over there. So we pretty much have been on platforms already together. So, we are just going to bring the entrepreneurial side out of things over here on The Woman's Hustle. So I am glad to have you join me today.
Yes, absolutely.
So let them know a little bit about you, where you from, and what do you have going on as an entrepreneur?
This is Lady here, and I am located in the state of Massachusetts. For some who are familiar with it, some are not. If you can't pronounce it, it's all good. And I am your sacred embodied empowerment coach. And overall, I'm very multi-passionate in areas of self-love, wellness, mind, body, and spirit, rooted in embodiment. And we also include what is called the sacred sexual empowerment. When you understand what that is, you will understand everything that I do in that area. But overall, for me, it's really deconstructing old belief systems, old habits and patterns. It's really finding yourself. And when you find yourself, you find your power, and you're able to show up in your power and your purpose, and you're able to do all the things you're passionate about doing, and you're able to support others. You know what I mean? Everything is inner before we go outer. Yeah. And that's what I coach on. That's what I talk about. You know what I mean?
Love it.
I'm a woman who has overcome many, many, many obstacles and trials in my life. But I've learned how to heal a lot of my traumas. You know what I mean? I've learned how to pick up tools and utilize them, get what I need. And filling up my cup allows me to fill up somebody else's cup, and that's important. Don't run your well dry trying to save other people. No, you got to save you first. You got to help you first and make sure you're good. Then you can go out and make sure everyone else is good around you. So it's real simple with me. It's finding your power, reclaiming it, and showing up in it. That's really what it is. It's that goddess energy, because I work more with women. So I always start with the goddess.
Listen, we met in a space for women and support, and our energy has just been so in sync ever since we have met. I honestly don't even know how long it's been, but it feels like that we have known each other forever, because we share similarities with regards to empowering women and just uplifting and stepping into our true self as women, but also as entrepreneurs. Because I agree with her, and I tell y'all this all the time. In order for you to get yourself together as an entrepreneur, you have to make sure that personal side is in alignment first. We tend to want to pass that side of things and go straight to the business, but when our personal life is in shambles, you know what I'm saying? So we can't do that. We have to get the personal purpose in alignment first. So I am definitely glad for her to be here. And I want her to tell a little bit more about, tell us your backstory. What made you even get started on this journey, sis? Tell us, even before you began coaching, what was life like for you?
Oh, wow. Um, this is why I'm also an author. This is why I
Yes.
write books. This is why I do storytelling, because we all have stories that come in layers and levels. Um, but I break it down and make it simple for now, because
Yes.
we're always here for an inspired time, not a long time, I say.
Absolutely.
Overall, my background is it's kind of like most women, as a Black woman, you come from the struggles, you grow up in chaos, dysfunction, you grow up with trauma, you continue on that journey pretty much half your life. For some people, it's all their life. Um, but for me, I would say overcoming trauma, you
Mm,
know,
mm,
going through my own personal losses, like the father of my older three children, he died very young. We were only in our 20s.
mm.
So, when you go through something traumatic like that, the father of your children passes away, and you're already in a place of, you're going through life, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So for me, I had to find a way to get through that. I know a lot of people say, how do you heal angry? This is something
Yes.
I learned. This is something I learned. You can. You might not think you can, but you can. Because in
Yes.
that particular trauma, I healed with anger. I just knew I was angry, and anger is what kept me. It's what kept me sane. It's what helped me process.
Hmm.
A lot of different things happened during that traumatic time in my life, but eventually I was able to move on with my life. I was able to find some peace. My children, yeah, they went through things. When you lose a parent, you go through things.
Of course.
But one thing I did not let my children do was use that as an excuse as to why they couldn't, do better,
Yeah.
why they couldn't work on their behaviors and change their behaviors. I've always been the parent to encourage my kids, hey, if you don't want to talk to me, because sometimes kids are like that, at least let's get you somebody trusted you can talk to. I've always encouraged my kids with therapy, because I know that, especially in our Black communities, therapy is a stigma.
Better talk
Um,
about it.
you're not supposed to talk about things that happen, because if you do, it causes a problem. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? So I was in that part of my life where a lot was going on at home, and I
Yeah.
was suffering physically from it.
Yeah.
I was highly stressed out. I was a young mom. I have three daughters and a son,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
so all of my 20s, I had my daughters, but at that time living at home, it was a lot going on at home. It was a
Yeah.
lot going on at home, a lot going on at home. Like if I go to therapy, they're going to ask me what's going on. Do I
Yep.
tell or do I
Background
don't?
check.
Because
Yes.
when you start
Yes.
talking about certain things in a home where there's children, now it turns into they have these laws where now you become a person of authority who you have the legal right to report what's going on. Yes, you're a mandated reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in fear of that, because I said, if I go tell this woman what's going on, then she's going to
I'll
report.
open up that can of
She's
worms.
going to open up that can of worms, and then I'm going to
Yep.
start going through more stuff at home.
Yep.
But I knew I had to, I felt like I needed to do something. I had to talk about it. I was
Yeah.
suffering, and me being so young and having all that stress on me, that was not good.
We have that false sense of obligation when it comes to
Yes.
like family
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and me personally, I know there were a lot of things that I held myself back from.
Yeah.
Like I could have been an entrepreneur probably years ago, but
Yeah.
because I was operating in a restricted state of mind,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
I never thought about it. It wasn't until 2020 hit that I was like, oh wow, I could be an entrepreneur. I can be a coach. When was that moment for you that when you decided that you're like, you know what, I'm about to be somebody that's about to give back to my women because I don't want them to keep experiencing all the traumas and things like that that I've gone through in life?
Um, I've had many breakthroughs at different stages of life, from, like I said, from my teenage years to my 20s. And then I think it really, really all started to really happen later in my 30s.
Mhm.
But where the big bang came from was in my 40s,
Mm.
my early
Me too,
40s.
sis. Me
Um,
too.
I always go back to, this is not in a religious way, you know what I mean?
Right.
But a person who comes from that that era, I would always refer to it, the scripture in the Bible where it would talk about Jesus going to the mountains for 40 days and 40 nights.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I described it, not realizing till later on what was happening with me was a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
I was coming into this new place that was unfamiliar. I didn't know what was happening to me. I was like asking a lot of questions, at this point. I'm still in the church at this point. I was always in and out of church throughout my whole life. Grew up, I come from a Christian Baptist background. I grew up like that. It was just embedded into a lot of Black families. So I was in and out the church for a big chunk of my life. So
Okay.
in my 40s, though, it was when I turned 40, it was like something just started happening. And I found myself more outside the church than I was in the church. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I started asking more questions at the time to my pastor. And it was weird because I felt like she really didn't know what to tell me. You know what I mean? Because that was another part of my late 30s where God just had me in a place of women. I was around women. Now, God knew I had an issue with women. I'm going to keep it real. Like, what? Me and women was a bad mix.
Yeah.
Like, but I didn't realize it then what really was happening with me when I got a job and the whole office was women. And then I ended up in the first church I went back to when I had moved away was led by a woman pastor. It was all women, ministry, all the women leaders, all the leaders were women.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. When I say me and God I was like, God,
Hey, we question like, what is going on?
Why do you keep putting me around all these women? Like, I was just in these constant seasons where I was just constantly in spaces working with women.
Yeah.
And I would say ministry was the biggest part where I was working with women a lot. And it's in ministry is where really, I can honestly say, is where I started to have the breakthroughs.
I love
and that's where I started to get a lot of revelations. That's where things started coming to me. That's where I started to, see certain things and pay attention to certain things. And just going on that big journey, honestly, is what led me to coaching. Mm-hmm. And when people say, how did you end up coaching? Well, first of all, what I learned is that you're a coach before you even know you're a coach.
Hey, I tell people all the time. I've been doing that for years.
You've already been doing it.
My jobs. They called me the bone collector at my old job because they was able to come to me, confide in me, and me, be that person, but not be messy and go and telling everybody else business. You know what I'm saying? Like, absolutely. So in that reflective mode, I realized that that's exactly what it was for me. I was already in coach / mentorship mode. And it was like, hey, I'm about to make this official.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, when was the year that you actually made it official and was like, hey, this is what I do. This is what I do.
I officially went into coaching, when I first was led there, I was like, do what? Like, it just hit me out. They say when things hit you, you think it's crazy, but it's really not.
It is, right?
It's really your spirit, opening you up.
It is. And when you're aware of yourself, you know that. But when you're not, it's confusing and you're overwhelmed.
So I was like, coaching? Okay. So at that time, I'm a person where I did go through a coaching academy. I had a really dope coaching instructor. I mean, she was amazing. It was like God just connected me and her through a women's conference we had did in Georgia. We did a women's conference, and she came, and then after that, it was like God just kept me connected to this woman, and she became my coach. I went through her academy to get certified and all of that.
I love it.
And she taught me so many things. I say she was what I needed because I didn't know I was going to go through this dark period. That happened between 2018 and 2019, where I really went through a dark time. I mean, I felt like I had already went through dark times, but this was a different type of darkness, where this darkness was a part of my journey I'm still on, deconstructing. I didn't know that this darkness was going to bring me on a new spiritual path. I didn't know that darkness was going to have me question everything about the faith that I was walking in at the time. I did not know that darkness was going to just take me on a whole 360 of life where it was like, wow, you know what I mean? It's been more spiritual for me.
But I love that though. I think that that's amazing because I really think that we all have to experience that in that form. Of course it's different for everybody, but I believe that we all do have to have some type of spiritual reflection, spiritual guidance, spiritual, whatever that looks like for you. If you are a believer, if you are not, if you believe something else, if you're of another religion, that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the fact of spiritually really figuring out who you are as a person, as an individual, as a woman, because that's what it was about for me. I knew that I wanted to work with women, but I had to work on my anger issues because I was angry as hell, but it was angry not because of women, but I was angry because I was angry at life. So it just really involved me reconditioning that. And that's what Upgraded Mindsets was created. I created that name based off of that because I was ready to upgrade my level of thinking. I was able to upgrade my mind and how I thought about things, how I looked at things. That's so necessary. And like even you talking about the spiritual side, it also involves the mindset because we talk about that often as well.
Yeah.
Like the mindset shifting and thinking differently than how you used to think before. You know what I'm saying? Like, did that really help you like label down? Because like we'll get into like the coaching side of it now, talking about niching down. Because like when you started, was that something that you decided that you were going to be a sacred embodiment coach? Is that what you decided in out the gate, or is that something that you kind of worked your way into? Because I just started off as a regular life coach. I was like, oh, I'm a life coach for women, but narrowing down but continuing on my transformational journey really made me narrow down that I want to work with us with transformation of our minds. So was that something that you actually thought about in the gate, wanting to be a sacred embodiment coach for women?
No, that actually came like it's been maybe not even 2 years yet. When that hit me, when I first started off with coaching, it was very different. The name was very different. I even did a whole name change to my coaching practice. Now it's My Sacred Path LLC because that's the energy I felt. I started just seeing things very differently on the type of work that I was starting to do with women. And knowing when we talk about embodiment is sacred. That's a deep inner thing. Like when you look at your own journey, because I tell people what I do is not too far from who I am, because a lot of the work I do in my coaching is work that I've done with myself. Because in order to be a coach, you got to coach you first.
Come on.
So that's something I put out there that people don't understand when you talk about, we can use titles all day long, but if you're not doing the work with yourself, there is no way possible you're going to get out here and do proper work when you want to, or matter of fact, let me roll that back, effective. Let me put it that way. When you want to be effective and impactful in the work that you do with others, you have to be doing the work on yourself, because that's what coaching really is. I know a lot of people say, oh, coaching ain't ministry, coaching ain't this. Well, let me clear this up.
Please do.
For the people in the back.
Please do.
For me, no, coaching is a form of ministry, because that's what Spirit showed me on my journey as well. When I got into coaching, that's the way God said, I'm going to be used as a coach, not as a minister. My coaching did become ministry for me, because when we think about what is really ministry, what is that? That's the first question we need to put out there on the table. What is ministry? Ministry is not outside of you. That's in you. Ministry is really, if you're someone who's empowering people, inspiring people, you're helping people, you're giving people guidance on whatever level that is. It ain't just about you being in a church and you're reading a Bible and giving scriptures and Bible study. No disrespect. Respectfully, I'm speaking the truth here. Really think about what ministry is in you. It's not outside of you. And that's something I had to be reminded of when I left the church. I never forget when I went to a business conference with one of the businesses I was a part of years ago. And there was a woman there who was a minister. And she pulled me aside and she said, baby girl, listen to me. Ministry is going to always be inside of you. She said that building was the building, But what God put in you is going to always be in you because that's who you are at your core. When she said that to me, I cried for 5 minutes in the bathroom.
Hey, because that was another breakthrough. I love it.
That was another breakthrough I had, and it was another reminder. What I learned in coaching was that your passion and your purpose is interchangeable. Whatever journey you're supposed to go on, however you're supposed to minister to somebody, whatever that's supposed to look like, it don't got to look like the traditional way of doing it. I'll never forget one day somebody told me, I don't see you exactly as a preacher, but a teacher. I said, well, respectfully, the reason why you see me more in a teaching mode than a preacher is because you're still set in traditional ways yourself. So you think that preaching is supposed to look like what you were taught. I have to tell you, it does not. It does not, because see, a mindset, when we talk about that mindset,
yeah, baby,
that's a part of the journey, deconstructing from what you were taught and what you learned on every level, spiritually, especially spiritually. Yes. We all have been on that journey. I say we all need a deconstruct. We all need to go through a deconstructing because we were all taught, for the most part, a lot of us were taught traditional spirituality. But when you come into your own, like I said, for me, coming on my journey, these are the things that started to break up for me.
Absolutely.
And I feel like when you are supposed to know something, you're going to know it. You get what I'm saying? So all of it, everything, every experience, every trial, every situation I had with women, God was only preparing me to work with women. But first he said, I got to take you through these uncomfortable waters with women. I got to show you some things with women, because in order for you to get to the purpose that I have for you, and your purpose is working with women, because you're going to be the voice that's going to speak back into women's lives. You're going to inspire women. You're going to do all these things that I didn't even know I was going to be doing. You see what I'm saying? But it wasn't me choosing it. It was my path that chose me. I just chose to get in alignment with my path. I chose to finally accept it and embrace it. And I'm not saying it happens right away. I'm just fully embracing my journey.
Right.
47 years old. I'm just fully embracing it. And there's so much more for me to see. There's so much more for me to learn. But the growth I have so far, where I'm at now, it's a beautiful place because I opened myself up to my journey.
Yes, that vulnerability.
And I allowed everything that I needed to come into my journey. Yes. You know what I mean? Is it easy? No. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? It's not. I think I want people to understand one thing when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's not supposed to be easy.
Absolutely.
Nothing is supposed to be easy, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that that's where a lot of us fall short. I was at a conference this past weekend, and they had, like a question, they had a panel, and they allowed us time to ask questions. So one girl got up and was basically saying, I'm a nurse, but I'm also an entrepreneur, and I do this and I do that. And she was like, but sometimes I don't have the time. What do you recommend? And it's like, okay, we hear this a lot. So I'm gonna say this: if you feel like you don't have the time to become an entrepreneur or be an entrepreneur, stepping into that journey, you better self-reflect and feel like if you even want to be an entrepreneur. Because if you are wanting to eventually be that full-time entrepreneur, step away from your job or whatever else, you better get prepared to put in the extra hours. You better get prepared to put in the work each and every day, and I think I want us to understand that nothing is easy when it comes with our purpose,
Absolutely.
So I love that you just got into so much detail about your purpose and, letting the listeners kind of get a raw and vulnerable look at, what it looked like for you. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, we do have to understand that there are going to be ups and there are going to be downs.
Absolutely.
It's got to happen. Listen, if you had a straightforward journey of nothing but success with an entrepreneur, hey, how are you going to know when you're failing? How are you going to realign, restructure, rebuild, refocus? You are going to have some failures, people. And that's what I want everybody to understand. Absolutely. That's why we call it the thrills and the spills. Before we get out of here, lady, just kind of tell the audience like what you recommend moving forward when it comes to like time management, for somebody that might be thinking about starting the entrepreneur journey, who might even just have a side hustle but not applying themselves. What do you recommend to somebody when it comes to time management if you are already full-time schedule, but you're wanting to step into the entrepreneurial side. What do you recommend to someone when it comes to like time management and like taking care of self along the way?
Be intentional. This is something I learned. You got to put you into your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Because while we out here, I get it. Some of us, the hustle grind mentalities where we want to better our families and better our situations. We want to create legacy. We want to do all these great things. No judgment.
Right.
But you got to know everything about you first. You got to really peel that back. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to entrepreneurship, you got to spend time with you. You got to know how you're wired, how you function, what works for you, what doesn't. Because we can sit in classes and trainings and teachings and all day. Listen, I done took almost every business master class. Listen, I tell people I have coaches, mentors, indirectly.
Yep.
But
Facts.
again, with all information, you got to apply it to how it works for you.
Yes, ma'am.
You got to get creative and work it for you, because we do not all function the same. We're not going to all do it the same. Your business may not look like my business. How I do it may not be how you do it, but that doesn't mean the information that we got a hold of is not working. It's just about how you work it and apply it. But you got to apply it to who you are, not who Keisha is. Apply it to who you are and how you function. And the way to do that is really take time to spend with yourself. That's how you start to balance out everything around you. Don't get so caught up in that whole, again, I got to say this because this is how I know a lot of people teach hustle and grind backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because life, when you really think about it, it's supposed to be ease, not all that hustle and grind. And when we think about what does hustle and grind really look like, some people are generators, some people are not. Like I've took a lot of personal development tests, okay?
Yeah.
Generator doesn't look the same for everyone. Like I have generator energy, but my generator energy also comes with ease. I need my rest too. Yes, I'm gonna go take a whole goddamn nap.
Hey.
And I'm not being lazy. I'm not doing none of that. That's a part of that's a part of it. Because if you run into burnout, I've been there. Listen, I've tried so many things on this entrepreneur journey. I've done a lot of different things, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And because I had that burnout mentality, that hustle and grind I was being taught back then, it led me to burnout. I was burning myself out. That's all I thought about. I would wake, sleep, eat. That's all I thought about. Yeah. It was taking time from things that really mattered to me, because you got to balance out family, your self-care. You got to be intentional about you. Put you into your daily schedule.
That part.
You are your business. Put yourself into your schedule and don't put yourself to the side. You got to schedule yourself into your schedule. Yes. Put yourself into your daily routines. I like the word rituals, but your routines. Yeah. Put yourself in there every day. I don't care if it's 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 50, however your schedule set up, make sure you are intentional about putting you in there. Some people, just to close this down, I got to be transparent and say it because I feel it in my spirit. Go ahead, see. There's a difference between hustle, grind, and desperation. Ooh. There's a difference.
Hey,
because a lot of people I see moving the way they move online, I be like, you're desperate. You're operating out of your season. You're operating out of alignment. And you wonder why you driving yourself crazy. You're not in your season. You're ahead of it. Or you might be behind. Know your season. Can I just put that out there for a listener? Know your season and be in alignment with your season. The reason why everything, you got to know your season. Be in alignment with your season. Don't let nobody rush you. Don't let nobody tell you, oh, you got to jump out and do this today or tomorrow. No, baby. Stay in alignment with your season. If you are, you're divinely guided and connected, and if you are a spirit, wherever you are spiritually, if you are in tune with your inner self, I promise you, everything is going to work out for you in its divine timing when it's supposed to. Don't rush it. Yep. Trust it. I'm not telling you to don't do nothing.
Right. Still be intentional.
Still be intentional. Still take action. But don't let nobody rush you. You know you better than the next person sitting next to you. You know how you function.
Period.
So if you want to be successful in your business, understanding success doesn't start at the money. It doesn't start there. No, successful starts at first. You got to work on you first.
Personal purpose,
That part.
personal clarity.
That
The
part.
personal has to be in alignment.
That
Period.
part.
Point blank. Hey,
There it is.
so that was dope, y'all.
That's
Listen,
it. That's all.
moral of today's episode is to make sure that you know where you're going and how you want to get there, and understand that it is your individual journey as an entrepreneur to do what's best for you. Okay. Lady, this was amazing. You know, I love when we get on. We can vibe for hours and hours. You already know. But I definitely appreciate you coming on and dropping your thrills and spills and speaking on your stories. Is super powerful. Please let them know where they can find you at on social media, baby.
Oh man, y'all can find me on social media in a lot of places, but I always start with, you can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on Facebook, you can follow me on, well, it's X now, it's not Twitter, TikTok, wherever you at. Just, the link will be in my bio somewhere connected to this, and you can just click on that button and you can find me.
And I'll make sure that happens, y'all. Listen, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to the thrills and spills of entrepreneurship. If you are a woman entrepreneur that is interested in becoming a guest on The Woman's Hustle, the link to schedule an inquiry will also be in the podcast notes. I would love to talk to you more and see if you are fit for the show. All right. We out of here, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, baby.